Hello, everybody on social media. I am here with Tana Toly, the proprietor of Red Banjo Pizza on Main Street in Park City. Interesting enough, Red Banjo Pizza is the oldest business license in Park City. So it's the oldest business and oldest restaurant here in Park City. And I wanted to talk to Tana a little bit this morning about, such a long time fixture of our community, how the COVID situation has affected that business. So, Tana, thank you for being with me. And quickly, if you could just tell social media, in a couple of minutes, a little bit about you and your story and how you ended up here in Park City.
Sure. Thanks, Earl, for having me. I am actually a fifth generation Parkite. So my niece and nephew are sixth generation. So we were all born and raised here. My great-grandparents went to school here, my grandparents, my father, all the way back to the late 1800s. So that is how I ended up here. I was born. And we have had the Red Banjo since 1962 when my grandparents opened it. And I've spent most of my life here in Utah. I've spent a little bit of time in Colorado, but Utah's my home. So back to Utah, I came a couple of years ago, and will plan to stay here for the rest of my life.
Very cool. Very cool. Fifth generation Parkite. I had no idea, and that's
yes.
That's super amazing. So, do you know? Tell us a little bit about how your grandparents ended up opening Red Banjo Pizza. Kind of the origin story there.
Yeah. So back in the 60s, there were actually only 3 other businesses that were restaurants or bars. It was before the ski resorts opened. So back then, this was a ghost town. I think my grandma says there was about 1,000 people here. So when she went to school and she graduated in 56, I think, 56, 55, she had 26 kids in her graduating class. So 13 boys, 13 girls. And then when my dad graduated, it wasn't much more than that in the 70s. And then I think his was right around 70 or 80. And then when I graduated, it was, in the mid to high 200s. So quite a bit of a difference in the Park City that existed before the 60s versus when I graduated in the late 90s. But my grandmother decided that she wanted to open a bar. So Red Banjo started as a bar on Main Street. And at the time when they opened right before 4th of July. So we just celebrated our 58th birthday. We're going into our 59th year of business. And they just sold beer. They just sold draft beer for a nickel, if you can believe that. And she made, I think she said she made something like $400 that 4th of July, like off of nickel and dime beers. So
wow.
It was really just beer. And, this was an old building. It was built in 1900. If you come to visit the building, you'll notice there are 2 doors. When it was a bar before, in the 30s and 40s, kind of during Prohibition, there were 2 doors. So women were not allowed to sit at the bar. They had to sit over on the side they had tables over on different sides. So men could sit on both sides, but women were not allowed to sit at the bar. So we still have those 2 doors. So when you come in, you can see kind of where the women sat and the men sat. But that changed in the 40s. But it stayed as a bar when we ended up opening it. So she kept it as a bar. I want to say it's about 8 or 9 years, and then decided to start doing pizza. So pizza was kind of starting to become this little bit of a rage in the US in the 70s. And so she spent a few years trying to figure out a pizza recipe and what would work. And, obviously we're at a high elevation, so your cooking is different and your dough is different. I've actually tried to cook our dough in California, and it doesn't work right because it's all about the water to flour ratio. And so, but she found the right recipe, and we've continued to maintain being a family pizza restaurant. She had 3 little kids at the time, so one of them being my father. So she decided it was better to have a family restaurant versus a bar. However, now I think a bar might be making a little more money, but still, it's been a family staple in Park City for now going on 59 years.
Really such a cool story. Your family story and the business origin story. And congratulations on your 58th birthday of the restaurant. It's amazing how much our little town has changed, right, over the last several
Right.
decades. Um, Tell us, Tana, about how COVID has affected your business.
Yeah, so we were going into the busiest weekend of March. So, it basically was that Saturday morning. I got a phone call that said, someone at a restaurant on Main Street has COVID and we don't know what's going to happen. And by the end of the day, we were told we were going to have to shut down the next day. And as you can imagine, I mean, we're going into spring break. The town is at, almost capacity. And we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Obviously being scared for the health of our employees and of our customers, but at the same time, the health of the business and the health of the city, and what is this even going to look like? So we immediately shut down that Sunday at 5, which was what they had said we needed to do, and kind of just went into like, what do we do from here? And I'm pride myself on being quite innovative and creative and doing well with, guerrilla marketing, and sometimes doing well with nothing. Like, let's just dive in and let's just figure out what to do. So we went from having, a full restaurant working on 2 floors to basically being able to do to-goes and deliveries. And we are lucky because we can do delivery. They did shut down third-party delivery services, so a lot of people that were using like Mountain Express and Grubhub and things like that were not able to do delivery. So for us, it was actually it wasn't a big, huge change of having to look for someone to deliver for us, or how do you deliver, or getting any of that. But we, just decided, all right, here we go. We're going to just do curbside, and what does that look like, and how do we make it safe? And so we spent about the next 6 weeks just really trying to come up with ideas that would work for curbside. So we really wanted to focus on bringing the locals back to Main Street. We had many locals who called and ordered, who said, we haven't called and ordered food from Main Street in 2 or 3 years because we can't find parking, and it's just really hard to go up there and fight the crowd. So we amazingly got back a lot of the locals who had, maybe gone somewhere else or only came up during the off season. So I dove into a lot of my friends and family in town and really tried to come together to say, how can we support you guys, how can you support us? And then also, how can we support other businesses? So I partnered with some of my friends who own other businesses on doing things like, if you buy a gift card from one of my friends' boutiques on Main Street, you get 50% off your pizza. Or, if you order a gift certificate in advance, we'll give you 50% off. And so, but we really wanted to help the community too. So we decided that we would give away a dinner to a family in need every night during COVID. So we started with just working with the Christian Center and saying, who needs food, who would be so happy to have a hot dinner delivered. Makes me kind of emotional. By the first weekend, we had 20 families in need, and I put out letting my friends know what was going on. And some of our old time friends that own the Baja Cantina donated some money to helping feed more families. So we ended up being able to feed every single person who wrote to us and said that they would love to have a dinner. So it worked out really well. And we just felt, so happy to be able to help the community who'd helped us for the last 58 years.
Fantastic. So. And thank you for, in times of need, even though I know that it's been challenging for your own business, looking for ways to reach out to the community and help with those who are in dire straits. So how is business looking now? We've restarted the economy per se, and I know it's been a kind of a delicate balancing act. But how are things looking now compared to, say, a year or 2 years ago at the same time?
To be quite honest, May ended up being a pretty good month. We actually had a busier May, not by a lot. May is not a busy month to begin with. So, your difference is maybe a couple $1,000s, but obviously March and April hurt pretty bad because that is still ski season. But May was actually pretty good. We had, like I said, we did a lot of specials for locals, and we had a lot of curbside and a lot of delivery. Um, and then June has actually picked up. There are quite a few tourists in town, and there's a lot of people who are just using this as a drive-in market. So we're seeing people from Arizona and Nevada and even just different parts of Utah who are just coming up for the weekend. So even though we went from 26 tables to 9, we're seeing an insurgence of a lot of curbside pickup and a lot of more deliveries than we normally have in the summertime. So June actually looks kind of on par for what we had last June, which is quite amazing. But really, I attribute that to us getting creative and to kind of being in a situation where we are lucky enough that our whole family lives in Park City and was able to be a part of the restaurant and help in ways that they could, so that we could continue to make it successful for us in the best way that we could. But it has been a challenge with even just with employees. We rely on a lot of J1s, and that's not happening this summer, and we know that's not going to happen now for the winter. So there, and obviously we do have high unemployment, but it's getting people who actually want to come in and do these jobs that maybe not everyone wants to be a server or a dishwasher. So we're kind of just figuring out how to balance having enough employees and then also being able to meet the demands that are higher for this COVID. So normally when it might take you a minute to clean a table, it now takes 5 minutes because there's a lot of stringent cleaning processes that have to go in between switchover of tables. We also have to have someone who is required, at the door telling people they have to wear masks. Restaurants are a little bit tricky because you can sit at your table without a mask, but the second you get up to say hi to someone or go to the bathroom or leave, you have to put your mask on. So we're trying to just navigate how that's going to look for the rest of the time when these masks are required. But yeah, that's been where we are.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, but it's encouraging to hear that over the last couple of months that business is recovering well for you, and I'm very happy with that. So Tana, final question here is, if you could ask the community for whatever your heart desires to help your business thrive and survive at the moment, what would that be? And then how can the community get a hold of you and engage?
Yeah, okay, thanks, Earl. Right now, I really encourage people to come up to Main Street on Sundays, if that's going to maybe be the only day that they want to get out. But I serve on the Main Street Business Alliance as the vice president, and we've worked really hard with the city to try to get the streets opened up so that it's car free on Sundays, and the car free has been really successful. We've been able to take out our tables into the street, so now we can have 6 tables out on the street, and you can dine out on the street, and you don't have to worry about being inside near other people. So I would just encourage people to just try it out. Parking is free, and there's quite a bit of it. You can also ride the trolley up and down Sweet Alley, which I did with my niece and nephew yesterday. And, we were socially distanced on the trolley and it worked just fine. So I encourage people to get out if that's just their only day. And then, to join us during the rest of the week too. We do have a deck, so we're able to accommodate sitting outside. And then we also have a large, it's another lot, but it uses as a parking lot right now behind our restaurant for curbside pickup. So even if you feel that Main Street might be too busy with cars, you can always park behind and we can bring the food right out to you in the back on Sweet Alley. So we also deliver to all of Park City. For a long time, we were just doing inside Park City limits, but with COVID and everything, we want to make sure that all of our locals are reached. So if you live in Park City, even out to Summit Park and Jeremy will deliver. So that's the best way to help support us. And just really, like I said, our family's been here for a long time, and we're not going anywhere, but some of our neighbors might be. So I really encourage you to not only visit us, but to visit all of the other restaurants and shops on Main Street, some that really, really do rely on this local business and will need it to survive. So we want to help our fellow neighbors just as much as we want you to help us. So. And our website is redbanjoparkcity.com. And then you can follow us on social media, Red Banjo Pizza for Instagram and Facebook.
Fantastic, Tana. Thank you so much. Thank you for being, community minded and not only looking for ways to innovate and help your own business, but also help the local community. Those of us that have been on, Main Street in the summer, we know that Main Street Park City in the summer is a beautiful place to be, particularly in the evenings. So by all means, let's get out. Let's support our local Main Street businesses in Park City, and particularly Red Banjo Pizza. Thank you so much, Tana, for the time today. It's been a pleasure. We wish you success, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Earl. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.